Welcome back to Chicago Grit. Our mission at Chicago Adaptive Sports is simple: to provide the opportunities and community for athletes to forge their own path. I want to show you just what happened over 2 incredible back-to-back weekends at the beautiful, historic Broadway Armory, and why it proves the heart of our mission is stronger than ever. This wasn't just one tournament, it was 2 back-to-back weekends of non-stop basketball. First, we hosted the Wheelchair Basketball Bonanza, where 13 youth teams battled it out across 2 divisions. We had our own Chicago Skyhawks and LWSRA Hawks defending home court against squads who traveled from Kansas City and Michigan just to be here. The very next weekend, we hosted the Second City Showdown with 14 adult and collegiate teams. 3 divisions of elite athletes coming in from all over the country. This is what our community looks like. This is tangible, life-changing proof of what happens when these athletes get the chance to compete. You can see the confidence being built, but the real impact, you hear it from the parents. I spoke with Jennifer Friedlander.
First thing I want to ask is, as a parent here, watching your son compete in the first basketball tournament this weekend, how does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, huge sense of pride. I have a child that loves sports so much. It's a passion of his, but he has a physical disability, so sports has always been challenging for him to be successful at. And so seeing him out there on the court today in a space that's really designed for these kids to be successful and compete at the highest levels makes me really happy as a parent. So I've loved, I'm learning the rules. This is my first tournament weekend too. But nothing makes me happier as a parent than seeing my own child be happy and successful.
It's perfect. Have you noticed anything yet off the court, outside of basketball, that this has maybe given him?
I mean, I think being a part of a team is just so important. It's to have that team experience, the camaraderie, having your coaches, and having an experience that's different than anything else. And I just think that sense of belonging is so important. It helps with confidence. It helps grow their networks. So I mean, I think off the court, he's more confident for sure.
Perfect. No, that's amazing. That's the idea about it. This opens doors to all the other doors in life. So that's great. There's parents out there right now with children with disabilities. They might be cautious and they should be, right, protective of their child. What would you say to that person who's debating whether or not they even introduce their kid to adaptive sports?
Yeah, I mean, I was in that same situation too as a parent, where you're afraid to let your child go out into the world because you're afraid that they might run into failure, right? And that scares us as parents. But I think there's nothing better than having your children go out into the world and try new things and experience, sports particularly, as a way of boosting self-confidence. So I think you don't know until you try. Yeah. I mean, I think that, having your child go out and try a sport, there's so many opportunities now, but it's hard to find it. So we're so grateful for your organization for kind of building this umbrella to have all these sports underneath of it, because if your child tries basketball and doesn't like that, there's hockey, right? There's baseball, there's soccer. So chances are there's going to be a sport that's the right fit for your child.
It's a transformation that parent turned coach Greg Schmidt sees from both sides. Greg told me what the pride really looks like off the court.
Yeah, so I've been involved, I think this is our 4th season that I've been coaching, and I got involved with my daughter. My daughter Ione is now 10. But when she was 6, we kind of discovered adaptive sports. She has cerebral palsy, and we discovered adaptive sports through the adaptive sports summer camp that Shirley Ryan does. Yeah. And she got a taste for a lot of different things, but more importantly, she found a community of other kids. She's, in her school growing up, right, so she's in 5th grade now, and each grade she's been the only kid in her class with a disability. But here, when we get in these, in this community, in these type of events, and also just in our practices and being around these other kids, she's getting to talk to and be around kids who, are going through some of the same things as her. And then as far as how I got involved, went to the first couple practices and got talking to Coach Dan, and he could tell that I really liked basketball. Nice. And I don't think he knew whether or not I'd be okay coaching him, but he asked if I would be interested. I said yes, and honestly, For me, it's the kids. The kids make me want to, I mean, I can't wait. We have practice every Saturday, and I can't wait for Saturday morning, and it doesn't matter what kind of week I had, work-wise, home life-wise. Coming to see these kids, the smiles, they work so hard for us. They have a great time, and they keep coming back, so of course I want to keep coming back, and I really just love it, and it's changed my life a lot, and it's not really about me, but it has changed my life a lot because I'm getting to meet these kids and these families who go through so much but stay committed to our program, and that means a lot to me.
So now, as a parent and as a coach, coming to a tournament like this, watching the kids now compete, what sense of pride does that give you as a parent and a coach?
Yeah, I love that question because it really is a sense of pride, because you get here, and what we've done this year with this tournament, as you know, is we're doing it earlier than we normally do. And what's really great about that is this is our first taste this season. So even from Saturday to Sunday, the improvement that we're seeing, the mentality, honestly, from game 1 yesterday to game 3 on Saturday, I saw such a change in our kids in terms of defensive effort, teamwork, selflessness, and it's been really, really great to see. But even more than that, it's as the season goes on, like you said, the culmination of all the effort that we put in on Saturday mornings, and then we had a theme last year. Every week we were talking about, could we get better today? Could we get better today? And last year it really worked, because by the end of the season, it was night and day. I wish somebody took a video of our kids in October last year and showed them in March, because they get so much better. And as a parent, and certainly as a coach, yeah, I'm really proud of that. But what's even better is that they're proud of it. They actually see it. The kids see it. You can tell they see it. Yeah, last night we had just like a wonderful game at 4 p.m. after a rough first game and a good second game. And the smiles on their faces, and I say, are you guys coming back tomorrow? Yes, because they're proud of themselves. And what's better? Well, I mean, what can make a parent or a coach more happy than the kids being proud of themselves?
Right. What do you see in your daughter? Do you see that change when she's become involved in sports? How has she grown? How has she evolved as a person?
Well, when you first started asking the question, the first word is confidence, right? I do not have a disability. My daughter does and has her whole life. And like I said, she's 10 years old, and she has always been a really happy kid, very love-forward kid, loves everyone. But confidence wasn't really there until we found adaptive sports. And it's not really a measure of how she performs on the court, is that she's on the court and she's performing. This year, earlier in this school year, they had an assignment where they had to write a poem about a few things about themselves. And the number 2 thing she wrote, the number 1 thing was that she loves her family, which I think is great. But the number 2 thing was, I play basketball and I'm on a team. And it matters. It means something to these kids to be on a team, to be a part of it. And I'll speak just for my girl. She's so confident in these walls. When we're at practice, we're at these tournaments, not just with her teammates, not just with her coaches, but with officials, with volunteers, with the other kids on the other teams and the other coaches on the other teams. I know who I am, I'm comfortable here, it feels good to be here. So I think that the main thing that I see with my daughter from adaptive sports in general is just like, it's not even just an increase in confidence, it's 0 to 100. Right?
So what would be the message to them, to the parents that has a child that may be weighing whether or not they bring them out to practice?
Sure, yeah, I think that happens all the time. And first and foremost, safety is number 1 priority, and it's not just within your team. If we have a kid, which rarely happens, but if we have a kid and on our prep level, chair come over, you got coaches from both sides of the team coming to help, make sure they're supported. What do you need between games? Is there anything we need nutrition wise? So safety and looking out for kids is not just a internal team thing, it's a community thing amongst all the teams. That's everyone's belief is safety's first. But more specifically, I understand it. My recommendation or my advice to those parents would be to do the same thing that we did, which is try it. Give it a try. Come to practice yourself. You don't just have to drop your child off. If you want to stick around and see practice, we welcome that. We love it. We love, from our team with the Skyhawks program, we love when parents are involved, because it's really important to view these sports as a commitment, not a convenience, right? It's not just like, oh, we don't have anything else to do, let's take our kid to basketball for a couple hours. No, because these other kids look forward to seeing their teammates, and we need that commitment. So come, experience it for yourself as a parent, and see that it's the spirit in this gym today and this weekend, these tournaments, all the events. The spirit is very much of togetherness. It's not. Is it a competition? Yes, it is. Do the kids want to win? Sure, they do. But they get along with all the kids from all the other programs. They have a great time. The gym's filled with smiles, and it has everything to do with the fact that they tried something. And yes, it was something that might have been at first. I mean, I know my daughter was very nervous about it, right? But you try stuff, and you try it out. You try, and not just for like a couple minutes, right? You got to give it a full effort, but understand that once they get in it, I promise you, the kids are going to love it, because it doesn't matter their skill level, right? Because they're going to love it, because they're going to love their teammates. Right now, we're in between games, and I think a lot of these kids, it's their favorite time of the year. Sometimes it's in between games when they can hang out with the other kids, go eat some junk food, and just have a good time.
Yeah,
and so I think if you I guess my advice to parents is a long answer, but if you let your kids experience it, they're going to love it. And then it's on us as parents, even though like this morning, waking up early, getting to the gym early, you have to do it because you got to honor the commitment for the kid, because I guarantee they want to be there, and I think it's really important.
Yeah, well, it starts here. It started for me on my kids' team. When I was 14, I was approached by a kid in high school. He's like, you look like you should have basketball. Like, you want to come by? And at that time, it was like knowing nothing about it. So this is a story. This is, I think, the origin. So
I think to that point, it's so great. Like these kids. I learn as their coach, I learn a ton from them, right? Determination. They don't give up. They don't shy away from trying new things or challenging themselves and extending themselves and going and giving effort even when it might be scary to do so, right? Because they got each other in their corner, and that's why it's so important, and that's the team part of it. It's so important, and I think that lives are being changed in this gym this entire weekend. And it's not going to just end whenever they stop playing basketball or playing softball or volleyball, whatever they're doing. It's going to take them into their life, their career, their family, going forward. That maybe I think it'll take them places that maybe they didn't think they could go before this. And I think adaptive sports, I know I've met over these 4 years, I've met so many people whose story is adaptive sports changed me. And it has nothing to do with their skill level and whether they had success on their court or their field of play. It has to do with the connections they made and the life lessons they learned that take them to other places. Try new things. Go for it. You're more than capable of doing what everyone else is doing and doing it better.
That energy, that confidence, that 0 to 100, that doesn't happen by accident. All those teams traveling from across the country exist because of a vision. It exists because of a few founders who saw an urgent need in Chicago. To tell that origin story, I sat down with co-founder and fellow athlete Ken Carwell. All right, Ken, so thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Great seeing you at the Armory this weekend. So just seeing that event, like all the kids, we have 4 Chicago area teams now. Plus all the visiting teams come in. As a founder of Chicago Adaptive Sports, when you sit back and watch that, what do you feel?
It's interesting to watch how so many things have stopped since COVID. So many things have been reduced. Participation is down in many, many, many circles. But to see the adaptive sports community continue to thrive has been very, very, very fun to watch. And seeing the tournament again, having teams from more places, more local teams develop, teams that didn't have teams for years now do, but you have large groups of kids playing basketball on a weekend in Chicago, and all of them seemed to be having a great time. Everybody seemed to be enjoying it. The skill level was impressive. The older kids were very impressive, and the younger kids just working so hard and enjoying themselves so much.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's unfortunate though. Yeah, it is true. You see teams come and go as funding comes and goes, but it's that spirit. You'll see the same players show up on different
Yep.
teams, and
Yep.
once you're committed, you're gonna find a way
Yep.
to be involved. So
Keith Wallace said once years ago that the key is to having somebody who takes the lead on building a program. And now to see this many people who have taken the lead in different places be able to do that has been pretty amazing.
yeah, no, it's so important. It's opened so many doors for all of us. So it was great. You actually pointed me towards Greg and Jennifer, two of the parents, that were there. We captured some great interviews. Greg was talking about his daughter's confidence going from 0 to 100. Jennifer's talking about just the huge sources, the huge sum of pride that she has. So is that the proof that you're looking for? Hopefully,
That's the validation of the program. Our role is to support the adaptive sports community, being able to do that and see what everybody's able to accomplish on the court. Just feeds into that thought exactly, is to have people out there playing, kids playing, parents who oftentimes wondered what was going to happen, what the children are capable of. Don't forget, it's still competition. They're really working hard. They want to win. They know winning isn't the most important thing, but they really do. They really want to put the effort into it, which again, I think is one of the best parts of watching a weekend like we just had.
to understand how far we've come, you have to understand where we started. I asked Ken to take us back to the time before Chicago Adaptive Sports existed.
When Chicago Adaptive Sports kind of started by chance. Dan introduced me to Alma and said she was trying to do fundraising to be able to buy sweatshirts when teams went to tournaments. And I found out that the entire Chicago Adaptive Sports history was that she had a sock full of money in her drawer at her house that she had collected doing concessions. And she used that to be able to purchase on occasion what they wanted to do. So
I know Alma's story is so powerful. Can you share what drove her to give back to the community? What was the gap? What was missing? What forced you, Tom, and Alma to say, we have to build this?
So I talked with her and just said, first, that's a terrible idea. And maybe we can make this a little stronger if we kind of work together and build something. And that's how it started. I then talked with her. I have a friend of mine who's a school superintendent who knows about my journey. And so he was willing to jump in and help and became the third board member. Worked with my accountant from the organization I was the president of. And we set up Chicago Adaptive Sports, went through all the process, filled out all the forms, did the paperwork, got our 501c3 status, and started trying to decide what we wanted to do to be able to support what was happening. Yeah. What we want to do is give organizations the opportunity to have resources available if they want to do something, whether it be teams, individuals, coaches, players. If you had a thought of wanting to do something to move forward, we wanted to be a source of the resources to be able to do that.
Right. To Shirley Ryan, but those are huge organizations that we're one small part of it, so we get ignored or there's so much that needs to get funded that
those are two giant organizations, and they're complicated, and they have processes and they have the requirements. And when I talked to Alma, what I like the idea of Chicago Adaptive Sports is we're nimble. Mm-hmm. That if somebody needed something on Friday, they can call me on Tuesday and we can figure out how to do it. Right. And we've done that many, many times. We've gotten plane tickets for people within a couple of days so they can do things. We've expanded and covered more sports because somebody saw that was a need, but it was done quickly with pretty seamlessly. So our goal was to fill that gap between the Chicago Park District and Shirley Ryan and be able to meet the needs of what's happening in between that. Right. And still, as you've said many times, make it so athletes don't have to pay a cost.
Right. Yeah, because that's tough. Because it's, as a person from the inner city growing up and being injured, cost of going on a trip and, leaving home and
Entry fees.
Right. Oh, those weren't even, if they weren't covered, I couldn't imagine, some of the teams going to tournaments if there wasn't, an organization behind them. So definitely critical to the mission. That nimble support creates life-changing moments. Mark Schultz, a former coach, told me a story I'll never forget.
Why should programs like this even exist?
Yeah, so like you said, I coached for about 4.5 years, mostly youth sports. And the main reason I think it's important to have Chicago Adaptive Sports is just the opportunities that are there. So if you're an able-bodied child growing up, there's opportunities everywhere. You can go to the YMCA, you can go to the Park District, you can get involved in house rec leagues. But for Chicago Adaptive Sports, there's really just the one program that the Chicago Park District really on full support. So the fact that there's opportunity for all the kids from all these different neighborhoods in Chicago to come together who have a disability and be able to have access to sports just like able-bodied populations do is just super important. So just the opportunities to be active is huge. Lifestyle, health, all that's important. And then the community is essential as well. Just being able to meet people who are going through maybe some of the same challenges that you are going through, learning from them. The fact that it has youth and adults combined is huge. A lot of the adults serve as those mentors. They might have been in a wheelchair for 30 plus years, and there might be a kid who's been in it for 3 months. So just being able to talk to them and have those resources and have the community is massive.
Perfect. Awesome. Great answer. So being involved in 4+ years, and it's great to see that you stick around. You come as a spectator now, as a fan. Do you have any of the stories that keep in mind that stick to your mind of just growth or seeing somebody over the years that have made you proud in some way?
Yeah, I can think of a couple. So the first one that comes to mind, just kind of talking about that opportunity that the sports provide, is we used to go to Fort Wayne, Indiana every year for a tournament. And I don't know if anyone's ever driven to Fort Wayne, Indiana, but it's not like the most exciting drive. And I remember loading up the bus, loading up the trailer with all the chairs and equipment, and just like kind of dreading the drive to Fort Wayne. And one of our new athletes, it was his first time out at a tournament, and he comes rolling up and he's like, "Coach Mark, I got some money. I'm going to buy a mug for my mom and my teacher." And I was just thinking like a mug, like greetings from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And to me, like I was dreading the drive because it's Fort Wayne. But I got to talk to him more as the tournament went on, and this was going to be his first time leaving not only the city of Chicago, but essentially his neighborhood. So he had never left Chicago, and this was an opportunity. Fort Wayne was like his big first trip outside. So kind of put in perspective, and after that, I was always excited to drive to Fort Wayne and just give the opportunity for people to get out of the city. And then just other growth, Excel Gonzalez, I'm sure everyone's heard of her, just the opportunity she's had being a Paralympian. I was around the program when she was the youngest ever female to make the team, and just to see her grow over the years. There's countless other names, Alec and Martrell and Sean, who've all gone off to college and been able to grow, have careers, come back to the city. Some of them have moved out of the city, but just awesome opportunities through the sport and the community that maybe they might not have had if they hadn't gotten involved in it. So,
especially here at the kids tournament, there's a lot of parents out there that have kids with disabilities that might be a little worried about introducing them into the whole world of adaptive sports. What would you say to those parents?
Yeah, I think that you have to go for it. You have to give that opportunity to your child, especially if they want to get involved in sports. Even if they aren't necessarily as into sports, it helps get them involved in the community. And they might meet someone who's like plays guitar every day too, and they can get involved in music, different opportunities. But I would say don't be afraid of it. There is some contact. I know sometimes there's a fear in that, but people have been playing adaptive sports for forever. So I think just get involved. I think you'll form relationships with other parents that have maybe been going through similar situations as you have, whether your child had a congenital birth defect and they had a disability from a young age, or if it was an acquired thing. There's all different types of disabilities that are represented in the gym at the youth level especially. And I think just get involved. You're going to meet other parents that are a great support system. You're going to meet coaches and other athletes that are a huge support system. And it does, like, it just provides amazing opportunities for your child, even beyond the sports aspect. So I think you guys just go for it. There's awesome resources. People will be super accommodating and welcoming to you. And you got to take the shot. You got to go for it, because I've seen the amazing things that can come from it. So
I didn't believe I had a future. At first, I couldn't even dribble a basketball and push my chair at the same time. But that community, seeing people who've been there, it shows you that hard work will pay off. You realize the struggles become your unfair advantage. That's the grit. And that's a story Ken knows well. You've had history though with developing organizations, and so this wasn't exactly new to you. I mean, let's go before the disability. Just your history is amazing. I know you as the basketball player and
yeah, kind of. I've always been a gym rat.
Yeah.
Local guy, grew up in Villa Park. Played high school sports, played high school football and basketball, played football in college, and then switched to basketball at a Division III school. Came out of going to the Division III school. The counselor said you had to pick a major. Mm-hmm. And I go, I like playing basketball. I like to fish. And I kind of like probably drinking too much beer. And he goes, I can help you with 2 of those, not the third. A brilliant counselor and said, why don't you become a PE teacher? And that gave me summers to fish, and I coach as you got older and couldn't compete. And that's what I did. And then in 40 years of education, I taught PE for 1 week. Realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. And then in 1977, met a gentleman from a group that works with at-risk kids and interviewed with them and took a teaching job in October of 1977.
Okay.
And started working with at-risk special ed kids. Kids have been kicked out of every school they've ever been in.
Yeah.
That was our niche, and we never refused a kid, never expelled a kid, never suspended a kid. So I'm in 40 years, never suspended a student from school, no matter what the behavior was. And we have some really good stories. Yeah. Continued along, had a family. I'm 6'6", my wife is 6 foot. We kind of realized we're going to have tall kids. And all of them, luckily, are fairly athletic and started playing sports.
I said, there's this new guy, Ken Carwell. He's talking about foundation, and super tall guy. He's gonna be great. He's a little older, and she's like, Carwell? She's like, I played against some Carwell girls. Like, they were really good, So it's your family name preceded you, and it was definitely made me interested in your story. And
and so then they went through, coached them through high school. I was an assistant coach for years with them. Coached a few years at Wheaton College, and then our business expanded. In 2000, our founder passed away. It's called the Mentor Group is the name of the organization. So in 2000, I became president of the board, and we hit an expansion mode. All of a sudden, at-risk kids was kind of a growth industry. People needed places for kids, and we worked hard to make sure a student was never out of school more than a day or two if possible. Yeah. That's that nimbleness we bring to Chicago Adaptive Sports, is being nimble enough to be able to program for those kind of kids. So we started, expanded, everything's chugging along pretty well, and pretty soon I end up with a sore hip. I'm 60 years old, a sore hip seems to be normal.
Right.
Every half the people I know at my age were having hip replacements. Found out my sore hip was a large chondrosarcoma bone cancer, which required, the only curative treatment was to be able to take half of my hip, and without a hip, you can't have a leg. Right. So what's called a hemipelvectomy is the level of amputation, and life changed. All of a sudden, I walk into the hospital and I roll out.
Yeah, no, you're the big basketball guy, and then life changed. So how at 60 though? So we all had stories. We've told our stories. George was 8. I was a teenager. So the perspective at 60 years old.
I'm 60 years old. My life has changed.
Yeah,
I'm no longer. And my wife and I, we didn't know what to expect. We first survival seemed to be number one. Took 6 months to return to work. Never really got to the same intensity or speed that the organization was. They kind of moved on without me, which is great. That was not a complaint. That's actually a testament to my partner and I building the foundation to be able to have the organization continue no matter what happens.
Right. That's the idea.
That's the idea. We wanted to be sustainable. That was always our goal. And after about a year and a half, my wife says, "You got to go find something to do. You're making me nuts." Being home every night. And I remember them saying they had wheelchair basketball. So I watched a couple videos and said, "Hey, I'll try that."
Nice.
And I contacted Shirley Ryan, who put me in touch with George. And I went to practice.
That's risky, right?
I walked in the gym, came to the gym the first time with my daughter and went, "No, this is really crazy. I have no idea what's going on." So the coach, Dan, asked me, got me in a chair and said, "Why don't you take a shot?" And my ball goes about 3 feet. He goes, "I thought you played basketball." I go, "Yeah, except the basket's a lot further away now."
Right.
Again, the first thing is I'm 6'6". I can kind of get up by the rim. Now I'm sitting in a chair, and it's a lot further away.
Yeah. But I remember seeing it. I was like, "Oh my God, this guy's so close to the rim."
And I'm so far away. How do you do this? And then just was so welcomed by everybody. I knew I couldn't do it. I mean, I was the human victory cigar. When the games were out of hand either way, I got to play my minute of the game, and that was it.
Well, I think people knew it right away, too. We'd play someone, and they say, if we let him get down the court, he's just going to be able to put it right over us.
I had no idea what was going on.
Right. So their mission was to keep you on the other end as far away from our court.
They still do.
So the chat. So it's the same game, but it's a different game.
Completely different.
Yeah. How did you find dealing with that difference?
I've always thought I had a pretty good basketball IQ. So one, it was the same in some ways and so much difference. And one, I've also been coachable. So I like listening. I like learning. I like being able to do things. And so having coaches explain things and have players like you explain things. And I liked also the fact that there was really no mercy. If Juan wanted to go down the lane and go by me 18 times in a row, he's going to do it 18 times in a row. He wasn't going to slow down. It was the competition level also was kind of fun. So it was that combination of acceptance, coaching, being willing to be coached, and having a community of people who really took it seriously, at the same time knew it was a game and have fun and enjoy themselves. And then through the years, got a little better and got the hang of it a little bit and realized I have one skill is I'm really big. And how can I capitalize on that?
Right. No, it's an asset. Sometimes they still don't go in, but
but it's still being big. And again, it's been really fun to try to be better, but I'm also a lot older. I'm 30 years older than everybody else playing just about. So I mean, some of you guys are. My kids are older than you. So that makes it also kind of interesting.
Right. No, that definitely, that's awesome.
So you asked how that fit with my history of doing nonprofits. I had never started a nonprofit, full disclosure. Okay. I inherited an organization that was already working. We had to make changes to make it successful. So when we started a nonprofit, it was like a new thing for me too.
Okay, really? So you saw that need.
The need, had the people, and started putting it together.
That's awesome. Oh, that's what we need. That's and so I guess touching back on the Alma and Alex stories, just because she's so on our latest board meeting how they get stopped on the street and there's just everyone's recognizes the Shriners kid and all that. Seeing her involvement, through the years, like she's always, even now, she wants to be the behind the scenes person, but what does, what can you share about Alma's story? Because I think she has more passion than any of us, but she doesn't want any of the limelight.
She is the true advocate for her son, for those kids that grew up with him, and then for all the players that she sees. She wants nothing but the best for them. She wants them to achieve. She wants them to have accessibility. She wants them to access. She wants them to have the facility. She wants it to be perfect for them. She's not satisfied with okay or it'll do. She has a German background, and there's a degree of things have to be done right.
Right.
And that's who she is. She wants it done exactly the way it's supposed to be done. And if she doesn't, she's willing to step in and fight for that and to talk about it and not accept we can't do that.
Right.
She wants accountability, she wants participation, but she really wants what's best for everybody she meets. But it's interesting. It starts with Alec and that first group of athletes that were around him. And
who's now in college playing at U of I.
And going to be on the Olympics.
Right,
trying out for the Paralympics.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm so late to it, hearing the stories of you guys and the way it started, and it's amazing. When you talk about how you used to use your day chair and have put the different wheels on it to play sports.
Yeah.
And again, that's not that long ago.
You see it in every kid who pushes up and down that court. And that grit from this kids tournament feeds right into the adult leagues. Like I said, the very next weekend, we hosted the Second City Showdown, 14 adult and collegiate teams, including our own Chicago Skyhawks and Chicago Hornets. We had teams traveling in from all over the country, from Alabama, Detroit, Cincinnati, and even the Rolling Blazers, who flew in all the way from Portland, Oregon. We had 3 collegiate teams, the men and women's team from the University of Illinois and the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. This community is growing. It creates athletes who push boundaries in every part of life, and this community is tight-knit. We're going to tell his full story soon, but I was reminded of Angelo Perez. And what's so amazing is Angelo, who doesn't even play basketball, was there both weekends just to support the kids and adult teams. And so why does this matter? All this energy, 2 back-to-back weekends, hosting teams from Oregon to Alabama. It just highlights the great mission ahead. It just highlights our mission. This community is here. It's thriving, but it's also stretching our resources to the limit. It shows you the need for more funding, more publicity, just to get the word out. I asked Ken what the long-term vision for CAS is. It's amazing to see things evolve and the world evolve, and that's really leads into kind of our mission or our vision or our goal, for Chicago Adaptive Sports. Can you explain that as what is?
We came up with 4 thoughts that we wanted to do. One was programs. What are programs that are necessary? So we've started out with wheelchair softball, wheelchair basketball. We put hockey in there just because we knew that was a sport that was popular. But since then, we've added goalball, the visually impaired sport that the Park District runs now.
Right.
And that program has expanded, and now they're actually competing in tournaments and moving around the country, and has really been successful. Next one was information. How do you keep people informed about this? Our website, this kind of work that you're doing now is something we hoped would happen when we started this. Way above my technical abilities and also my interest level or my skill is to be able to do something like this. But this is part of the goal, was to be able to tell the stories of these athletes and people who've gone through before us. Third was advocacy. How do you advocate for people in a community? Today, how many letters did you write for people to get CAF grants?
Right. Yeah,
5 or 6?
Right. Exactly.
I've done 4 or 5. We've had athletes who wanted to try out for the Paralympic teams that we were supported. When one of the athletes went to Japan, we made sure she had a little bit of resources to be able to, if she saw something, again, being old, having pocket change seems to be a good idea. Right. That she had a little bit with her to be able to do that. Yeah. Anything we can do to make those athletes and these individuals do what they want to be able to do and help them do that and advocate for them. We've done written letters. There was a friend of mine Morton Arboretum wanted to become more accessible, and there was a grant. So we worked with the Park District, Shirley Ryan, and Adaptive Sports all wrote letters in support of this grant coming from the federal government, from Tammy Duckworth's office, to be able to make Morton Arboretum more accessible. Yeah. And they got the grant 2 years in a row. So we were the ones helping write the letters for that. But we were the ones reaching out to the people to get the letters written so we can get to the person who wanted to have that submitted within the group. Yeah. And then the last one is a facility. And that's Alma's real goal, and that's really all of ours, to be able to have a dedicated facility for adaptive sports in Chicago. Mm-hmm. You go around the country, nothing against Fort Wayne, Indiana, but Fort Wayne, Indiana is still Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's an amazing place to how much they've changed, but they have world-class adaptive sports facility. Right. 4 courts, track, swimming pool, every piece of equipment, all the workout equipment is set up so if you have a physical disability, you can use it. They have ramps that go on to the treadmills. They have all the seats swing out so people in a chair can get in to use some of the equipment. I belong to a local gym in Lombard, and there's not a single there's one piece of equipment I can use, and that's only because my chair is so tall I can go over the seat. You went in there, you couldn't be able to use it.
Right. I had to go and sit on that little
Or
bicycle
transfer,
seat.
little seat, something happened, and nothing's good. You put me on a little bicycle seat, bad things are going to happen. You're going to have the fire department come pick me up off the ground.
Right.
So a dedicated facility, and
Yeah. But it's one that, and I've seen it being down at U of I, and they have their DRES office, so there is a workout room that is accessible. Most of those equipment, though, like the seat swings out or it easily comes out, so that it can be used by the general public. So I think that's important to see is we don't need a facility that's just for people with disabilities. It's for the entire community, but we would like maybe some priority time
correct,
because we have people coming all over the city, maybe all over the county, and to coordinate times within the team is hard enough, but then to have to coordinate with the park district and see, well, what's available, and we love the support we get from the park district, but it is when we're asking for maybe some subsidized, court time or fees, we kind of get what we can get. And sometimes we end up practicing at the oddest hours or the oddest places. So, having a facility that is, and then I think a big thing is we'd always talked about is having it centralized in the city. We love, like you said, Fort Wayne, Indiana is in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I think Keith's facility is great too, what he's building, but that's also so far southwest.
Right.
So having something central to the city, I think is...
Well, even now, having our adults play at Jesse White Center and the kids play at Rainbow Beach. I mean, those are both amazing facilities, but they're as far away from each other as you almost can possibly be within the city. Right. When the Hornets were practicing at Gus's gym on the north side, you had 3 sites, all with 3 sets of equipment, with 3 different... Everything had to be in a separate unit instead of having them together. And I think the idea of having a facility where everything can be together, it can be a central location for all the things that want to happen, at the same time knowing that the park district and whoever is in charge of this, it's going to have a financial ability to kind of support itself. Right. So, rentals and programming and all the different things you can possibly do, we could be included.
Yeah, and those 4 things are huge. I mean, we can talk about each of them, even break it down even more because, equipment is big. For someone in a wheelchair, your sports chair is, your gym shoes. That's your equipment you need to compete, and they don't last forever. Equipment it doesn't last forever. Equipment is made of metal and rubber and carbon fiber, and it breaks down, and they're not cheap. And most people in wheelchairs, when we have our everyday chairs, we have insurance that covers it. Insurance does not cover a sports chair, even though it can be therapeutic, even though it keeps us in good health. It's not medically necessary. So can you speak to how do we then get equipment?
It's interesting. That's I want to say 4 years ago, Chicago Adapt Sports applied for a grant with the Christopher and Dana Reese Foundation and got 5 new chairs.
Yeah.
A part of the grant was $1,000 in parts, because it's not just the chairs; it's all the parts, tires, rims, axles, every cushions, all the other things you need to go with the chair. So if you ever are in the area and you see our practice, if you see these light blue chairs, those are the ones that came through Chicago Adaptive Sports, the grant we received, and the Chicago Park District owns the chairs, but they got through a grant that we received.
Until that facility is built, the grit continues. It means partnering with the Ability Labs and the Chicago Park District. It means we work to pay for facility fees, for registrations, and for the equipment to keep this generation pushing forward. We all deserve a place to play. And now we're even playing pickleball. And the programs, though, so we missed, the latest, greatest craze that I personally love, too. I know you've been doing a bunch, is pickleball.
Yes.
So it is one of those sports like tennis where a disabled person can play against an able-bodied person and actually compete. We have, a teammate, Brian, that goes out and he goes into able-bodied tournaments and wins games.
Yeah, he's at the national tournament in Florida last spring. Last summer they went, and I think the group from Glassa that went, they have a hybrid division, which is a wheelchair with an able body.
The 2-on-2, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So most of it you can play singles, doubles, or hybrid. So Brian plays singles and doubles and had a hybrid partner, and I think the group from there did very, very well. Oh. And recently they went to a tournament in, I believe, Ohio over Halloween weekend, and again did very well. I think they had a silver medalist in the hybrid division.
Oh, nice. No, it's good. It does. You still need to be able to move fast, but especially the 2-on-2, you can play. You can lobby back and forth, and
it's a smaller court.
Exactly. But
the wiffle ball takes the energy out of it, so it's not quite as fast, but you can hit the ball really hard.
And you need skill. What I've found in a couple times that I've went and played is that the skill level, hitting a corner, doing the drop shot, like all those little things.
You learn the dink.
Exactly. Those are the rules. So it takes a good amount of skill to be great at it, but you can pick it up quickly. So, I love this sport. But it was good. It was. I had fun with it, and I look forward to, I think in the spring, they're going to do more pickleball, do another, I think, 10-week session. So,
I've gotten involved with the Glassa group. To play pickleball with other para pickleball, it's been interesting to see. They're very involved with it. These guys, that's all they want to do, and to see how many people across the country are starting to be able to develop that. If I had a vision of Turnstone is the goalball Paralympic training center.
Right.
It'd be neat if Chicago could become the para pickleball center.
Yeah.
We're centrally located. We've got 1 million pickleball courts around, from private to park district to every park district which is another reason the tennis players probably hate us, is because we've taken their tennis courts and turned them into pickleball courts.
Right.
But again, it's fast. It's simple. It's a cool sport. We first
big ping pong or little tennis, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's I like it because again, it's quick. It's simple. It doesn't take much in the way of anything you need to do, and it's easy to pick up on.
Right.
Like everything else, you can put as much time to get as good as you want, but fairly quickly you can get the hang of it and be able to compete.
Right. We went out with the kids and just, we have a few rackets now and got them, and, the kids are able to play, and it's fun.
Yep.
It's something that, being a disabled person, not being able to do many of those things with the family. So finding any of those sports you can adapt, whether it's riding the bike and hand cycles or whatnot. So, it's good. I think it's another, program or something that we try to push.
It's also a sport where a senior citizen can play with people who are younger.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Especially in the para level, it balances it out a little bit more.
Well, the fishing, that's a great thing too, and I think it's important too to maybe touch on Chicago No Limits Fishing and when did that come about? Because that's that's just another incredible program that we have that not a lot of people have access to.
We are the only Chicago No Limits Fishing has a boat that's accessible on Lake Michigan. We're in DuSable Harbor. We just completed our 3rd year. There's not another program like this on Lake Michigan or within 250 miles of Chicago. There'll be one-offs. Somebody will do some wonderful organizations will do a veterans fishing tournament for people with physical disabilities one time. But we do it Wednesdays and Saturdays from May to October. We actually applied for a grant from an organization called DRELA, and their whole thing is to provide memorable experiences for people with physical disability. Great idea. So we talked to them about it, and then they said no, because we provide memorable experiences twice a week for 6 months. They only want you to do it once, which seemed crazy to me, but that's their niche. And that's how the grant that Shirley Ryan got from them to do the bullfrog camping trip was funded
Gotcha.
through their
Okay.
grant. So, but No Limits Fishing has it started because, again, going back to my original story, I like to fish. That's how I became a PE teacher. There was this guy, I heard the name Dave Hansen. People talked about it, never met him. And our friend Gus knows Dave very well and got to know me as I joined the organization and started being more active. He introduced us and said, "You guys like to fish, get together."
Yeah,
And that was it. So 4 years ago, I had never met him before, had never thought about this as an actual thing. And then we started putting together the ideas and what we wanted to do. We found a boat in northern Wisconsin in a field, literally sitting in a field.
Yeah, and that was it was almost destined too, right? 'Cause
Yeah. A million things had to go right. We had to find a boat, then we had to get it here. And there's no pontoon trailers around. They're like gold.
Okay.
The nice ones. And so we stopped to get gas fishing up. We have a cabin on Three Lakes, Wisconsin. So we were out fishing and went to get gas, and I asked my wife, "Why don't you go see if they have any trailers?" She goes, "Oh, they don't." I go, "Do your magic." She comes back and they go, "They got two."
Oh, wow.
So I said, "Good, give them $100. Tell them we'll be back in a couple hours so they don't sell them by mistake." And so that's how we got the boat, the trailer. Tom Hurlbert is my friend. He drove the trailer. We found back from Wisconsin. We have a friend of a family who runs a trailer modification company. They did all the modifications, about 80 hours work for free.
Wow. And so go into that. What exactly? How do you take a pontoon boat and make it wheelchair accessible?
Pontoon. You can buy fishing pontoon boats. This was the regular pontoon boat with all the seats in it. You know, like a cruising pontoon boat. That's what this was. Woman's father had passed away. They decided to get a new boat. They had ruined the vinyl on the seats, was no good. So I explained our mission. They gave us a great price on it. Nice. So we brought the boat back, and first thing was a bunch of guys came out to my house and we tore all the seats out. And so now we have a platform with a frame, but none of the doors are the right size. So I bought 2 aftermarket doors, took them to our friends it's called Advantage Trailer in Carroll Stream.
Okay.
They took the doors and started modifying. So I thought one door would be in the front, one would be in the side. Well, they said, no. They took the 2 24-inch doors on the side, put the 35-inch doors on there, took those small doors and put them in front. So now we have those galley doors. Right. We have a 48-inch door in the front. So that's, number one, you have to have accessibility. They're the ones who cut the gates and cut the fencing of the pontoon boat. So the gates were all wide enough for people to get on and off. Nice. They moved the console back so we had more space.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work. Yeah. And then they did all the electronics. They put the trolley motor on, the depth finder, all the battery, the chargers, everything they put on for us.
Yeah. So
that was our first year, was to get the boat ready to go in the water.
Yeah. I mean, it's all kind of worked out. I guess to go, over or like the experience, right? So me not a fishing guy. I like to fish, but I don't, fish. I don't have equipment. I'm not fish savvy, if you would say. And I wanted to bring my family, right? So it's me and my family, and they're kids. We have 8 and 10-year-olds, and they, so very green. But we were able to show up. We had volunteers lined up. We were able to go out, and Dave took us out, and it was like a guided fishing tour.
That's the idea.
We didn't have to really do anything. We got the kids to get the hooks off of some of the fish. Everyone caught a fish. Like it was an amazing day, and it couldn't have been done with like all the work you guys done. The volunteers that were there. Exactly. And I know Joyce, Joe Joyce, but he's having a good time of his life too.
Having a great time.
Yeah. So it's amazing. So what's the work that goes into that, making that experience happen?
Again, first it was Dave and I, and then Julie is an OT, is a friend of ours, a family friend of mine. So that was our board. Yeah. We had a couple of volunteers the first year. Guy who heard about our story in an article that Dale Bowman did for the Sun-Times. He called us and volunteered. I have a friend of the family that we've known for years. He loves to fish. He comes with us. A young guy who was, after I had my surgery, adopted me. He told me I was his leg. He became my legs to go get stuff. And helped us move. And just a great young man. Ivan helped us out from the get-go. And Dave had a couple friends that helped us out. So we had this small group the first year, and I think we did 18 or 20 trips to get started, and then expanded from there. So first was volunteers, second was equipment. How do you get poles? Well, the PVA, the Paralyzed Veterans of America, had a storage area, had a bunch of rods and reels somebody had donated. So we took all of those. I took those in my house, cleaned them up, selected which ones were good, put new line on them, bought a few as we raised money. We were able to buy a few, use some of my own stuff, my own rods and reels that I've collected in my own fishing history, because as my wife says, I'm not allowed to go to Bass Pro by myself. I have to have supervision.
That happens.
Or no credit card.
The toys, there's new things.
I needed that. And so then it was expertise, learning how to fish Lake Michigan and the river and gaining more knowledge. So our first year we didn't do as well fishing. Second year, much better. This year, I thought we did a really good year. Okay. We really learned where to find fish, how to fish for them, how to make sure we can, if you're fishing and something gets tangled up, you have another pole in your hand in seconds, and somebody's fixing the new one to make sure you have enough to make it like a true guided trip.
Exactly. Yeah, because that was, with
kids,
rookie fishermen, and I mean myself too. I was like, okay, here, Joyce, I did it again. Like
you're hung up,
right? and he would go ahead and fix it, and we had to rehook it and retie, and so it was amazing. It was that the kids left that day, and I left that day. It was like, wow, that's not something that in the 40 years that I've been around. That I've been able to experience. I think there was a sailing program when I was in high school.
That's a little different.
It is, but it's a totally different experience. The boat and being able to actually navigate and move around, like you said, having the big doors to get any type of wheelchair in there. Because I've rented a pontoon boat and I've showed up there just for like family. Trying to get out there, thinking, oh, this is probably the most accessible one, but if that door is too small, that's it. That's the barrier,
Yep.
So
we made it so we're pretty clear, and we've never had somebody come out with us we couldn't get on board. We tried 2 big power chairs once, and that was we probably were close to exceeding our weight limit. It was fine, it was safe, but we were able to take the power chairs. We had Alec, Sean, and Angelo Perez come out with us one day. So we had 3 guys. We had 5 people in wheelchairs on the boat.
Yeah, all right, nice. That's awesome. No, so then there's goals too, right? For that, we're looking at a bigger boat, right? To get more than a couple guys on there. So can you talk about that? What is the future goals for?
I'm not sure we've ever talked as a group. One of mine is to be. When you talk about fishing, adaptive fishing in Chicago No Limits Fishing becomes who you talk to. And that's starting to grow that way. We've been at there's a Ability Expo. Mm-hmm. There's a Fishing Expo. Okay. So we had a booth at the Fishing Expo, which was just a blast. Yeah. And so you're talking to people who love the fish, and now you start talking about our story. We got a number of volunteers out of that this year. The Ability Expo, so more people can sign up. This year we might try to do a demonstration at the expo on fishing, just because nobody knows about it. We met a guy who's listed 15 or 20 spots in Chicago that you can go to fish from shore.
Okay.
So we can share that. So we have equipment, we have accessibility, we have locations. Yeah. So that's part of one, is to become that organization, that we're the go-to for people who want to fish and need assistance. Right, we've had equipment, again, building all that. 2 is the boat. We have the new boat ordered. It's being built as we speak. Yeah, nice. So we're going to take possession probably in the spring, but we're continuing to fundraise. We're about $15,000 short of our goal. We've raised over 70. Our goal was $85,000. So right now we can purchase the boat, but now you've got to get the depth finder, all the electronics to go with it. And I know some people say it's cheating, but Lake Michigan's a big body of water, and we want to catch fish.
Right.
We're not tournament fishermen. We want our clients, our people to come out with us to catch fish.
Exactly. And that's what it was. I think every kid caught a couple fish. Like they were, Benjamin, he got lost in the worm.
The worm boy, right. As Dave calls him.
Yeah, he stopped retired. He gave up. He caught a few fish, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna be this last. I don't know, just send off for these worms.
Yeah, and again, it's interesting if you go on a saltwater trip. Yeah. There's somebody who does nothing but bait.
Oh, gotcha.
And so he has a future if he wants to go live in Key West. And
he did want, when we left, he did want to be a boatman, and that might be in his future. He loves, but it's amazing because offering those opportunities. And I know George and I talked about, finding what you love. And it's great, you found, not only found what you love, you've promoted it, or you have the boat and shared that with everybody else. I think it's important that everybody in our community try all those things. There's a reason why there's 10 different sports, is because you're going to find the thing that you love, and that's what keeps you going, so that's important for us to just show that, and in our website, I want to expand that and show all those opportunities
and promote, the cycling, the pushing. This, Angelo Perez is going to Cozumel to scuba dive.
Yeah, right.
Scuba diving? No, thanks. I don't want to.
But there might be a lot of people out there.
And on Sunday, talking to a couple of the parents, the one lady I was talking to, her son is starting the scuba process.
Okay.
Because again, saw it, thought it was interesting. So there's so many. The depth and breadth of what's available is just amazing. Between the Park District and what Shirley Ryan has to offer.
Yeah, but it's that variety. You touched on Angelo Perez, and we're going to be interviewing him. I look forward to hearing his story and the way he's tried a bunch of different sports, and right now doing the marathons.
Yes.
It's amazing that he's tried the Dare to Try. And I've asked him, I was like, how are you getting in the water, in and out of the water? He's like, you know what? We figure it out,
Figure it out. I think that's what you go back to my story. That was the first thing I realized is, what do? You got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, problem solving becomes, people talk about problem solving in business and in all these places. And problem solving has a new importance when I started trying to figure out what life was going to be like.
Yeah.
And the answer is, you figure it out.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And then being able to look at the parents' faces, see them. It was amazing being able to talk to the few. So, thanks for introducing me to them too. But that's what it's all about, I think.
And the one parent, Jen, was doing adaptive soccer, was it? With CP?
Right, yeah.
She would the program that she was coaching. Mm-hmm. So she saw a need and said, hey, this is kind of fun, and had a son that was interested. And he's a funny guy.
Yeah, no, he's probably the nicest kid too.
Oh my gosh!
Just learning it too. I think it was the first weekend out there. And
had never played basketball before.
Right.
He got into it because when we did the Shirley Ryan fishing, a lot of those guys were down there. All the basketball guys were fishing with us that weekend when we did the Shirley Ryan event down at Bullfrog.
Nice.
And he was down there also, and I think that's where they connected.
Yeah.
I think the mom connected with some of the parents when she was down there.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what it's a community, right? And to this, I think we have a good plan and idea, and first of all, to tell our stories, because it's powerful, because the power of social media, getting things out there. I think if we have a good message, the right people will find it. So that's the goal. And I think as far as the future, I want to get so many people involved, each person with their story. Moving forward, my goal is to shine as much light on the people, because I think we have a bunch of people with good stories, good hearts, and it's worth investing in, And
I hope if somebody hears one of these stories, one of the things I didn't realize is how almost everybody is a step or two away from knowing somebody in the position that we're in, at some level, whether it's an elderly, if it's, we've had people we've had 3 generations of people fish, grandfather is in a wheelchair. We've had father, son who has a physical disability, and his son come with us. We've done that more than once.
Yeah.
How close the community is, and how do we get more people? We know Chicago has got X amount of people statistically with some sort of physical disability. How do we make sure everybody knows this exists? Right. Sports, activities, recreational, all that this is something they can find And again, I know Shirley Ryan and Partis do a great job, but you still have to seek them out. What you're doing is putting this information in front of them in the ways that people gather information today, as opposed to going to the website. I would go to the, again, I'm old, I would go to their pamphlet and figure out what I wanted to do. I still get my Park District folder, I look through the whole thing.
Right.
My kids go, "What are you doing? It's all online."
The idea is, when we get past Chicago's story, as I want to, interview as many of the guys as we can. I want to go into, some of the players, the coaches. Like, there's so many different, vantage points. There's so many different perspectives that we can capture.
So you can do a 4-hour one with Larry?
No, I don't know. That one would be very structured, and the batteries might run out eventually. But it is good to see that. I would love to talk to Larry.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah, he has so much of the history of, when he went down to U of I, it was not accessible. He had to ask that they moved classes to a first floor because he couldn't get up there. And they're like, well, and so he's the one that broke those
he's a
barriers
pioneer.
Right. So for so many of us. So hopefully we get around to all those stories and you get to tell them. And then why stop at Chicago, right? Each city we meet, we have, people down in Minnesota and, Florida.
How the heck does Nebraska have such a softball program? I mean, nobody lives in Nebraska. But they got these amazing athletes who are really good guys with my 10-second interview with discussion, amazing stories.
Yeah, and they're all over the country. We all have stories. You got Jaime in California with all the former military and those wounded warriors. We have.
Was he in the military?
Jaime was not. No, he was shot. He was pretty young too. But he's a Chicago guy. He's living somewhere else. So I'd love to get his story.
I'll go with you on that trip if you ever want.
Yeah, right.
I'll be your tech guy if you want to go to California.
Exactly. We make guys come home. They come home. People want to visit. We can set up the studio and get them. But I don't want to stop at the Chicago guys. This might take a while. This might take a long time. But as long as we're here, we might as well. And as long as there's still people watching the videos and sharing it out,
it'd be fun even to do a group like of the young guys. If you did Alex, Sean, and right. Together and have them being interviewed, what their experiences were. There's so much. Right. I think there's so much content out there, right. and you're starting to gather some of that. I think that's just exactly the next step in the evolution of Chicago Adaptive Sports.
Yeah.
Is telling the stories of these folks, and George's is so much fun.
It is, and it's true, and it's honest. That's why I want to thank him, and keep thanking him, because it takes someone like that to be bold and to say the things that nobody else wants to say, and then that's going to open the door. So no one coming on here is going to be able to be shy about anything, because
if you can hear what George says, there is no limits. There's nothing.
Exactly. So that's the power. Hopefully that opens up doors. Hopefully it makes it easier, for us to compete and have the equipment, and then, share that out, because not only does Chicago need adaptive sports, every single city, so, and the internet is global, right? So, maybe we can have mentors. We can have these mentor relationships, for people in a city, in a rural place, part of the country that may not have these same resources. So, I want to see where it goes. I'm very interested. I'm motivated on telling these stories and see what happens, because, it's why not? I think why, all through history, we've lost all these stories, right? We haven't had an avenue to be able to tell and retain stories. The cavemen did it on the walls. Egyptians figured out writing to be able to tell stories. But the most common person, no one knows about that. About the most famous person, the most rich person of whatever era in history. Never has there been a time in history where we can document, the well-off, the forgotten, the disabled folks, the people that have seen the worst of life, and that's, you hear stories of princes and kings, and they had the greatest world and all the riches, and it's inspiring to become a king, but how many people are actually become a king? Most people have a difficult life. So I think they can relate to us. And as far as disability, and I think George is the one that said this, and he said it best, and I think it's worth repeating, was that disability is inevitable. At some point in your life, you will face disability. Like it is just, whether you're 10 or 60, or 80, some people are healthy but they have a quick decline at the end of their life, but you will eventually figure out a bad hip or a bad back or a bad knee. We all go through it. So making the world accessible is something that we should do,
Careful using an inclusive word. You're going to get in trouble.
Right.
Have you do this and sitting here in your studio is just outstanding.
Right. I'm glad that you were able to come out. I'm glad you're willing to kind of tell the story. I think it's so important to explain the origin of Chicago Adaptive Sports, this foundation, because it is different than, the support that we get from Shirley Ryan and Chicago Park District is great, and that keeps us moving, but we've never really had a voice in deciding, our path, and
even the tagline, push, play, persist, the athletes came up with that.
Yeah.
One practice, we were first starting it, I was asking them about that, and we kind of threw it around for about 10 minutes after practice, and Ivory is the one who came up with push, play, persist.
That's what it's about. I think, making our voice heard. And I think that's with my own self, even recently, I was shot and paralyzed 30 years ago, whatever long it was, 25 years ago. And I sat with all that trauma. Like I said, I'm fine. I never really processed that. I kept that into myself. And that more recently is when I actually started doing therapy. And I think that's where my voice is coming from now. I want to tell my story because it's something to be told, and it's not something to be ashamed of and to hide away from. And that's I think we all have that. And I think it's been so therapeutic to put it on paper. I've been recording my own memoir and getting those stories on paper, and I want to do that for everybody, and I think the most powerful, that idea, that grit, think of it as and why I think it's so powerful is because, a little sand, a piece of sand, the smallest thing in the world, right? And that flies into your eye. You can't ignore it. Now all of a sudden, the whole world stops because that little piece of sand you can't ignore. So that's exactly what we want to be. That Chicago grit. We want to fly our little selves into the world's eye and say, you know what? You're going to pay attention to me. You're not going to ignore me. You're not going to ignore us. And
those days are past.
Yeah. We used to be in the house, right? Everyone had the uncle or cousin with a disability that before the ADA was in their own room, right? Would come out maybe on Thanksgiving, you'd see that uncle or whatnot, and we were hidden. We were in the hospital, and people would spend years in hospitals.
That's the part when I hear more of these stories and hear people talk, that was the solution was to have people stay away. Not hearing Larry talk and what happened with him and all the people he knew. It's
I knew there was a hospital. It was archery. They were all wards of the state, and they're all under 18, and there was 30 kids that lived in this hospital that the parents couldn't or wouldn't take care of and just didn't have the abilities. Their house wasn't accessible. They got this injury, so you can't go home. You go to archery. So now you're 14 years old, and you live in a hospital. You get bused to school, and it's that has to change. The world has to accept us. The world has to make things accessible. Get rid of the stairs. I think ramps look beautiful, so that's what it is. If we don't speak up, if we don't get our voice heard, then we'll continue to get ignored, right? That squeaky wheels.
You're a piece of sand, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a lasting imprint it puts on people. It really does. It's one of those you can't be around this group and not walk away going, wow. Yeah. And that's, again, I didn't know anything about any of this. So we had a softball tournament. And so my friend Tim, the videographer, and Julie came to the game. Yeah. And Tim, we went for dinner afterwards. And Tim is saying, I thought I was going to go down there. And he goes, I rode once on one of those Friday night bike trips in the city. Okay. And you drive by and everybody do the Nice job.
Oh,
He goes, I
right.
thought this was going to be Special Olympics. And I get down there, the first thing I hear is I'm walking up there, our chairs clamming and people swearing at each other, and yelling and screaming. He goes, this is competitive sport, just in a wheelchair.
Exactly.
But it's as competitive as anything. Any softball. He loved playing softball. Any softball he ever played. Right. So he was hooked at that point. And how many people, as complete outsiders, that I've brought to be a part of it now just love the
eyes are
idea.
open. I share videos. There's some videos, and I'll share it with coworkers, and there's just like, I had no idea. Like the vision that comes to mind when they hear wheelchair sports or adaptive sports. Exactly. It's that's cute.
It's cute.
And then they see it and they're like, oh my god! It's like I have to clarify.
Christmas.
It's like yes. I was like, I get kicked out of game. I get technical fouls. We yell at each other. It's not friendly. We're all friends after the game, but
it's competition.
Yeah.
And even the fishing program, people go, you can't. What do? You just stay in the harbor. So a few weeks ago, one of our last trips, gentleman from Venezuela, I guess was my understanding was shot by one of the Venezuelan gangs, and they lived there. So him and his wife, who was on Telemundo, moved to Chicago. They have an 8-year-old son.
Oh, wow.
So he came out with us and caught this big giant drum, and it was actually the fish of the week.
Really?
Dale Bowman. So
I saw that. You shared
that's our guy.
article.
Yeah, this little guy caught this giant fish.
That's awesome.
And I showed my people, my friends, and they just kept going, that's amazing.
Right.
So that's how I've been finding volunteers, is I tell the story of people like that, of what we're able to accomplish because people don't know about it.
Yeah. There's this really young kid on Keith's team, and he has a nice little shot.
He's really good. That
nice
little lefty.
Yeah,
He's our next star.
Yeah, I got a nice little B-roll clip. I'll put that on there somewhere, but that's what it's about. I love seeing all those things. So
Now,
go around. All right.
let's wrap this up then.
Yeah, no, we're good. All right, so Ken, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming out. I think we have, of course, this is great. I appreciate you so much. Anything else you want to say?
No, I think that was it. I think the idea, we covered everything. We past, present, future.
Yeah, perfect.
What we want to do, what do next.
Exactly. No, this would be a great episode. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, Ken, we can
Get your kids.